Welcome to the Good, the Bad, and the Sequel Q&A. My name's Doug. This re-release could be our last. You've been with us since the beginning of the last few months. My wife and I had our son Jack on July 21st. He's been having some issues, healthy otherwise, just some stomach issues, but I think it's figured out. So as of the recording of this, which is August 24th, Wednesday, in the year 2022, he should be home in a couple days. So if that happens, this will be our last re-release, and this is the perfect one to end it with. Talking to one of my favorite final girls of all time. She's up there with Sidney Prescott. She's on, for me, to be honest, she's on the Mount Rushmore of final girls. I'm talking Alice Johnson from A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4 and 5, played by the amazing Lisa Wilcox. So I talked to Lisa probably like fall-ish, way back in 2019, and I'm telling you, I was so new at this. I did a lot of interviews that first year, but I was so nervous, and this was one I really remember feeling like I turned the corner, because she made me feel so comfortable, because I was a huge fan. I tried not to nerd out too much, and but we had some great conversations. I made her laugh, and lo and behold, she felt bad that she scheduled this the same time she had a party going on, or people were coming over, and she had a heart to cancel, which I wouldn't have minded. It wasn't live, but that meant a lot to me. And of course, we talked about landing that role, some of her early roles, a really funny story about her doing the school play. You're going to love that. And just the role she had on show. She was on Star Trek, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, short-lived show. She played Missy Preston, and just a lot over the years, and really just the legacy of Alice Johnson and what that character really did, like the metamorphosis of that character within, the 90, 100-minute movie. It was pretty special, and just that installment was the MTV of horror movies and really launched Rennie Harlan's career overnight. Everything changed for him, and I think it was a big factor because of Lisa, how great she did in that role and how believable it was. So this is I'm going to go right into the interview. You won't have to hear me stumbling like I probably did way back then. I like to make fun of myself because I always feel like you can do better. But so do me a favor, review, rate, share our podcast, follow us on all social media at Sequels Only, and stay tuned next week. It's our re-release, and like I said, hopefully, fingers crossed, our last re-release. It's going to be a review of A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4, The Dream Master. We had a great guest, Amy, which I will make sure to plug her Twitter. She's great. She loves movies. She loves TV. Local. She's from New York. So we had a blast talking to her about a great installment in a franchise. And without further ado, here is actress Lisa Wilcox. So what I like to do with these is just find out, why people, how they got to where they are now and how they got started in acting. But first, where did your story begin? Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Missouri.
Oh, nice. What part?
Yeah. Columbia, St. Louis, and a little town called Washington.
That's awesome. So how long were you there?
Till I was about 14 years.
Is that about the time you got the acting bug? What got you interested in becoming an actor?
Well, I moved to California with my family because my dad was offered a great job in Newport Beach. So we all moved out. I had no intention of acting. I was planning to be a doctor. A doctor? What kind of doctor? Well, at that time, at that young age, I didn't know yet, but I was really interested in the heart,
Okay.
the heart medicine. So it was not in my, in mind to be an actor. Although I did have one acting experience in Missouri, which is actually kind of funny. If you'd like to hear it.
Yeah.
Well, so I'm in freshman in high school, and they had auditions for a play, and the TV show called MASH.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's actually a play, MASH. So So the school is doing this play, and I auditioned for the role of Ms. Randazzo, which was like 2 scenes and done on the proscenium. It was like a comedic relief kind of role. And I auditioned and got the role. And so the Ms. Randazzo, just think of the name, Ms. Randazzo. So I'm in a pencil skirt, red lipstick, high heels, this is my role. And again, comedic. And it was really a scene because they had to change sets behind the curtain for the next big setup or whatever. And so it's like an opening night and a Saturday, and it's 400 people in the auditorium, and I'm walking out on stage with strutting in my cute little outfit, and then the other actor is like my boss, whatever, and I'm the secretary, they called it back in the day, and with my steno pad and whatever. So I'm walking on the stage, and do you know what footlights are?
Yeah.
Yeah, so there are those lights that pop up and pop down, and if they're down, they're locked, and if they're up, they're lighting you. Well, see, these footlights were supposed to be locked. Well, I'm walking, and this is the area I have to walk. One of them is not locked. It opens, and my foot goes down into the footlight. I'm wearing these stiletto, strappy high heels, and I'm literally center stage. So now, in the meantime, I'm like, I've been captured by a footlight. My pen and my pencil and steno pad go flying. And then the actor who's sitting at a desk, because at one point in the scene, I'm walking over to sit on his desk. This is very old school, old fashioned when the secretary would sit with her legs crossed and her red lipstick. Right. And so he's joking around and he's like, well, I had a little too much to drink there, Ms. Randazzo. And there's 400 people watching this. So backstage, they finally realized something's wrong because I am trapped. I cannot, my heels, all strappy, are dangling off my ankle. I can't get out. So, and I'm now like on the floor and compromised. Oh my God. So, finally, thank God it was center stage. The guy who played Hawkeye popped his head out and he, unravels me from the footlight. I get my high heel back on and proceed to finish the scene.
A real professional at a young age when you were thinking about being a doctor.
That's hysterical. Yes, I guess you could say. So, I'm cool under pressure. Exactly. Yeah. So that was my first experience. And then in California, new high school, all of that. And start my sophomore year. And everyone, it's California. Everyone's involved in entertainment or whatever. So a friend of mine said, hey, I'm going to this audition at Buddy Ebsen's Theater in Newport Beach. You want to come with me? And I'm like, okay, sure. So I'm just tagging along. And I'm sitting there in the audience watching these auditions for this playhouse. And the producer, her name's Jane Nye. She was kind of known as the Marilyn Monroe in the very old school 1930s, 40s, the Bowery Boy shows, black and white. She was like the Marilyn Monroe on that. Anyway, she keeps tapping my shoulder saying, you're auditioning, right? I'm like, oh, no, I'm just with my friend. Anyway, she kept asking me. So I finally said, okay. And I auditioned and I got the lead role in Lanford Wilson's play, The Hot L Baltimore. And then I proceeded to win awards, and that's when I got the acting bug. I was bitten for life.
Just from that. So from that moment, then it was no turning back. Yeah. Throw away the stethoscope, and you're just focused on acting.
That's right. I'm like, let me try out this brutal acting thing. And except,
How was it moving from like Missouri to like California, like you said, everybody's an actor. Was it like a big culture shock at first?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, the weather and the people, but no, my sister and I, we were actually quite excited. And at this point, we were living in Washington, D.C., a little town. And, it's like, we're going to California, boys, California. I mean, this is in 1979. Yeah. So we were actually quite excited, and we had visited California before, and it's like palm trees and all that. So we were excited. It was an easy transition, honestly.
Yeah. So from there, so you're saying that's 79, you did that play, you won the awards. And then on IMDb wise, the first credit that's on there, it's usually not right, so you can tell me if it's wrong. It says, "Give me an F, Demons Dance Squad member."
Yep, that's it. It was called The Big Cheer, mind you, when I did this movie, The Big Cheer, and I was going to UCLA, and I don't even remember how I got involved, but I actually took a quarter off from UCLA to do this movie called The Big Cheer. And I was basically a highlighted, extra, but I was part of the Demons squad. There were 4 cheerleading squads. And I'm going to tell you guys, honestly, this movie is classic 1980s TNA. When I do conventions, people come up to my table and go, "Oh my God, give me an F. It's awesome." It's just
really
so
That's
fun
awesome.
and TV. Yes. Yeah. So, and of course, what foreshadowing do we have? I'm part of the Demons cheerleading squad. Our squad we wore red, black, white, bloody, high heels, red lipstick, and we all smoked.
I'm looking at the movie poster right now. It says, It says, "Get it at Camp Beaverview." So they were just like all about it.
Exactly.
Right, from the name.
It's perfect. I know. So I'm telling you, classic 1980s TNA. I don't do any nudity or anything like that, but it is seriously, it's an adorable film. So I highly recommend it.
It's like funny how many of those movies, like all around that time, there was like, I think Porky's is huge before that, but Screwballs, Meatballs,
yes,
3, which is like, there's like so many movies around that time are just that thing, and they just got greenlit, all of those, or somebody had the money just to do it.
Yep, and they were successful and popular, and that was, it's called the 80s TNA, tits and ass,
Yes.
So I happily am part of that roster, and I know I have a fantastic picture, which I've got to dig up, of me and all of us Demons, and oh my God, we had so much fun.
Oh, that's awesome.
And yeah, it was great. So yes, that was my first theatrical credit. Before that, I became SAG by doing commercials. And I was actually a Wendy's girl in the 80s for a little bit. It was when they had that theme, "Where's the Beef?"
Yeah.
This is going back to the 80s again with Wendy's. Yeah. I did a few of those, and I did a Dial soap commercial. So that's how, and I was doing print modeling and, that kind of thing. But yes, my first credit was "Give me an F." Now, here's the funny thing. Back then, it was called The Big Cheer. So that's what I put on my resume, right? I got called in for auditions because casting directors misread it as The Big Chill. It was a huge movie back then. They misread it that I was in The Big Chill. So thank you, The Big Cheer, because it got me into casting offices I probably wouldn't have gotten into.
Oh, man. And then from there, it looks like you transitioned. You're on like so many hit shows, Hardcastle McCormick. You're on a CBS School Break special, Mr. Belvedere.
Yeah.
So you had a lot going on. Like there was like 3 within like 2-3 years. You're on a lot of shows. Was there ever a moment? Maybe you felt that on Give Me an F, but was there a moment you're like, wow, I'm working with blank, or was there anybody that you were like, oh my God, I love you, and you had a chance to work with them?
John Stamos. Stamos. Oh, hello, who played Blackie on General Hospital.
Yes.
And I completed my degree at UCLA with theater arts, bachelor in the arts and all that. But I feel fortunate. I did these commercials during college, and that helped me pay for my apartment and my education and everything. And it was about 6 weeks after I graduated that I booked a recurring role in General Hospital. And so, it was pretty cool to say I made a living as an actor, very early on. But John Stamos and Jack Klugman, it was a show called You Again. And we did our episode was called "Marry Me a Little," and we have to pretend to be married, and we're taking care of a sack of flour, which is our baby. Anyway, John Stamos, totally dreamy and amazing. Oh, Jack Wagner on General Hospital.
Oh,
that was pretty freaking awesome too. Yeah. And that was before Jack Wagner did, what was it, Melrose Place, I think,
Yeah.
So it was before that, but he was a huge star in General Hospital. And there's so many. I'm a little girl from Missouri, it was really awesome.
Wow. So in 1988, how were you approached? Like, were you with your agent? How did it come about? Like Nightmare on Elm Street 4?
Well, and with a theater arts degree, of course, I did plays at UCLA, and I got a manager and an agent through my theater work. And so my manager, Michael Wallach, submitted me for, or our agent, submitted me for the role of Alice in Nightmare 4. And I was totally rejected, completely rejected, because back then my headshot is like, I did Barbizon modeling school, and I really did it for confidence because I was a tomboy my whole life. I didn't wear makeup. I didn't do my hair. Anyway, when we were in California, I did Barbizon. So my headshot is, I got the big, all the mascara and the hair and, the whole thing. So I was definitely not exactly what they were looking for the role of Alice. Of course, if they looked at my resume and said, oh, this gal has all this theater training. Oh, this gal is actually a trained actor, right? Anyway, nonetheless, it was about a month later, and we get a call from a manager, and he's like, well, they haven't been able to find their Alice. So they're going through their reject pile. Hi, hello. And you have an opportunity to audition. And I'm like, great. So, of course, I went with I loved the script of Alice. Alice Johnson is totally me, grade school, junior high. I was a total daydreamer. I was a bookworm. I mean. So, I went wearing my worst color, which is pale yellow, and dirty hair and no makeup, and went and read for the role of Alice. And Tuesday Night, who played Kristen, had already been cast. And I read the scene that we have at the in front of the school. We have matching luggage scene, talking about dark circles, and I talked about the Dream Master rhyme and all that. So read that scene with her, and Rennie Harlan was there and whatever. And then I had one callback on a Friday, and I was getting married that Sunday, planned wedding, 150 people, all right? And did my callback and was on my honeymoon, and I learned I booked the role of Alice Johnson.
Oh, that's so awesome. How was, I was going to ask this later, but you just mentioned his name, but how was working with Rennie Harlan? Because it was like right after this, he did a movie called Prison like the year or two before. And then he did this, and then he did Die Hard 2. And William Sadler, I was lucky enough to interview him a few months ago, and he said great things about that.
Oh, Rennie was awesome. He was great. I mean, he's from Finland. He's poor as shit. And he is doing this film, Nightmare on Elm Street. And he was just lovely. He was absolutely lovely. Couldn't say nicer things. And then we got to see his transformation from this, sort of demure, what's the word I want to use? Humble, Rennie Harlan from Finland, sleeping on whoever's couch because he had no money, to becoming Mr. Rockstar, and I'll never forget the rap party, and he's wearing this leather studded jacket and all this. I mean, he didn't become egotistical in the sense of mean or put down anybody. He was still lovely, but he made it to Hollywood, and good for him. Yeah, he's a great guy.
Oh, that's so cool.
Want to shop Walmart Black Friday deals first? Walmart Plus members get early access to our hottest deals. Join now and get 50% off a 1-year annual membership. Shop Black Friday deals first with Walmart Plus. See terms at walmartplus.com.
So I interviewed a guy that played Leatherface in Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, R.A. Mihailov.
Yeah.
And when I was talking to him, because that was the first person I talked to that was like in a horror movie. So I'm like, when you're making the movie, obviously that, everything's fake. But when you saw the movie for the first time, like Nightmare on Elm Street 4 at the premiere or however you guys did it, was there anything that made you jump or anything that made you like scared of it?
That's an interesting question. Oh gosh. I mean, I wouldn't say scared, but I was just fascinated, like, Debbie transforming into the cockroach.
Yeah.
And, we would see the sets. They had a bunch of different sets and filming going on at all times, So it was more of a fascination. But I can't say anything literally made me jump. Well, because I've read the script and I've been on set, so there were no surprises for me anymore, And I was already a fan of Nightmare on Elm Street. like from day one, from the first one. You know, I've always loved horror films and stuff.
Yeah, what an evolution if you think about those movies from what the first one is to the way they went. But you know what? Yeah. Robert Englund and the cast that, whoever was the casting director, I don't know if they had the same one for all the movies, but they just had the right people in the right roles. And man, Robert Englund he's a hilarious guy. He plays that character so well.
Yeah. No, he does. Annette Benson. I know I know at least Nightmare 1 through 4. Oh, and she may have done all of them. Yeah, Annette Benson. And she's the one who told me the story about, when I was in the reject pile and then I was revived to audition. And she's the one who told me, she said over 600 actresses auditioned for the role of Alice, maybe more in Hollywood, and they didn't find her. So she's the one who gave me that information. I was like, oh my God, really? That's so cool. So anyway, but yeah, I mean, like the cast of Nightmare 4, fortunately, most of us live very close to each other, close by. Oh, cool. And we've been friends, we've been friends for decades now. Like, it's like she cast not only actors that worked really well on screen, but also in real life, so.
That's really awesome. So how did you when you saw the movie for the first time and saw yourself, you had obviously some big roles, recurring roles, but to see yourself on the silver screen, what was that like?
Oh my gosh, are you kidding? I mean, it was wild. And also the transformation that I took from, so I told you, I was on my honeymoon when I learned, and they asked me to come back early and to do photo test photos. And then they said, hey, will you dye your hair? Because I was a platinum natural blonde. Okay. And I'm like, okay. So we did a rinse on my hair, hence the red hair. And, but to see, it was so exciting because I'm like, yeah, I don't know what to say. Yeah, it was pretty wild. And boy, you can't imagine how big your face is on that screen. And I'm like, oh, my chickenpox scar shows. Oh, that day I had a pimple. I mean, I was in my mid-20s, but, all that stuff just, although it all worked perfectly for the character,
Yeah.
But it was really cool. But I'm still very proud of that film. Very proud.
So how soon after that one did you know that they were going to make a fifth one?
Pretty quickly. It was a very box office hit, and it was in the papers, and we're at week 6, still number 1, and all this, so it really, Nightmare 3 did really well too. Rodney Eastman and I always bicker about which one made more money, and I'm like, no, Nightmare 4 did, no, Nightmare 3. It's, we have fun. Yeah. So it was pretty quickly after the, the box office success that they asked if I would, reprise the role of Alice Johnson in the next sequel.
And you're trying to hold back, and you're like, yes, of course I will.
Absolutely. And also what a joy to play the role again. And obviously Nightmare 4, Nightmare 5, Dream Child, Dream Master, such different scripts, totally different tone. Yeah. But yeah, no, I was thrilled.
Now, after looking at both of the films, because you starred in both of them, is there one that you cling to a little bit more, or is it that they're your children? You can't pick which one over the other.
Yeah, it is kind of like Sophie's Choice. How can I really choose which child? But I would have to say Nightmare 4, simply because it was the creation of Alice Johnson, and the character arc in that film is just beautifully written. And it was such a joy to play as a performer, as an actress, to go from the shy and meek and, that so many of us can relate to making choices and to fight for your life and fight for your friends and fight evil and, just become, screw you, I'm going to become kick-ass, okay? Even though I'm scared. So I love that transformation. And Nightmare 5 I still love too, because I feel Nightmare 5 was just not, it dealt with so many social issues going on, like alcoholism and, teen pregnancy, abortion, adoption, let's throw in anorexia and bulimia too. Okay. Yeah. But the thing is, those are all topics that were very, books were being written about. It was becoming exposed, those topics that teenagers were going through in the 80s. And it was very hard, though, I think, for people to look at it in the face. Nowadays, that's like Kool-Aid in a way,
Yeah.
But back then it was pretty heavy, and it was hard for people. In other words, they want to go to a movie and be entertained. They didn't want to think about their child back home are they on birth control, are they pregnant, or dealing with that, you know what I mean? So
yeah, no, that's true.
So nowadays, though, for many, I'm learning over the past couple of years, it's shared with me that Nightmare 5 is their favorite.
Really?
It could be it was the first one they ever saw, and that can always bring infinity to your favorite one is the first one you saw, but also an appreciation for those topics that were discussed and brought out on a giant silver screen,
Yeah. Here's a question. So when you read the script, did you get the entire script, like when you auditioned, or was it just like a piece of it?
You know what? I have to answer honestly. I don't remember, but no, I do. No, full script. I got the full script.
So I was asking.
You would get the full script.
Oh, okay, cool. No, I was going to say, since you're a fan of the movies and you're like, oh, I get an audition and you're like, where do I die? Or do you go to the end and then see if your name's towards the end?
Oh, no. Back then, actually, in the old days, you would go to your agent and they'd have a lockbox and you pick up the full script. Because nowadays they're so private about storylines and this, that, and it was nothing like that back then. Unless it was, yes, the final season of Dynasty, you had to sign, NDAs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But no, back then I got to read the whole script, like a book, a script is 120 pages, and you get to really hear and read and understand and absorb what this character is about. So that was, definitely a pleasure. So anyway, did I answer that question? I think I did.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. No, I was just wondering because you're a fan of the movies and you're like, oh no, it's Nightmare on Elm Street. I'm most likely going to die, but it's good that
I didn't even, that's so funny, but that thought didn't occur to me. I think I wouldn't have cared if I died regardless. Just being a Nightmare on Elm Street movie would have been like fantastic.
Oh no, definitely.
And it was.
So then after that, you have two huge movies. And then one thing that I never saw before, but I definitely want to check out was Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure TV series. What channel was that on?
It was on Fox, 20th Century Fox.
That's so awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, love the Bill and Ted movies.
Yeah.
Right? I get to play Missy. It was so much fun. We filmed that in Vancouver, actually. Yeah, that was a blast too.
Those movies are so great. I'm so happy they're making another one. When I was talking to Bill Sadler. Yeah, I was talking to Bill Sadler probably about a week before he was going to go film his part as Death.
Really?
And oh man, he was so I don't know how many of his movies you've seen, but you see this guy that's like a serious actor. He plays a great bad guy, sometimes off characters. Man, he talked about that. We would talk about something else. And I'd be like, oh, how about the Green Mile? And then he'd be like, oh, yeah. And then this one time we were on set with Bill and Ted, he just loved playing that like comedian role.
I bet. Oh, God. It was, to play Missy. I worked with Don Lake. Do you know the actor Don Lake?
No, I'm sure if I looked at him.
Yeah, he was in, what is that movie about? Dogs that are, do the pageants.
Oh, yeah. No, he's in Best in Show.
Showing, what was the name of that movie? He's
Best in Show?
Yes.
Oh, he's awesome.
Best in Show. Yeah, Don Lake. He's great. So, a lot of fun memories.
Oh, I bet. And then you had and then you had some roles, Boy Meets World. And then what I read on your IMDb, so around that time, you went and you're being a stay-at-home mom, right?
Yeah. Let's see. 91 is when I had my first son. So It was pretty quick after Nightmare 5. And I pretty much kind of left the scene because once they started school, I wanted home, And like Bill and Ted, we filmed that in Vancouver. And my first son, I think he was maybe 6 months old, 5 months old when we went up there, and but once they started school and all that, I really kind of left. Although I did get to do Star Trek.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's harder than having kids. I have a 9-month-old girl, and it's harder. It's harder than going against Freddy Krueger.
Yeah, you bet. Oh, and just wait. She's 9 months old. Oh, you just wait, buddy.
No, I know.
Wait.
She's been like too good. Like when we talk about her to like our pediatrician and other people, they're like, yeah, so what time she wake up in the middle of the night? I'm like, oh no, she sleeps through the night. Everything's great. Like, just wait.
Well, it's more too when they get older to the teen years. My kids like pretty freaking awesome, but oh my gosh. Well, it's brand new having children these days. But good for you though. That's awesome. That's great. Motherhood's amazing. And
yeah. Oh no, definitely. Okay, so we got disconnected, and Lisa was kind enough to call back. I'm sure you heard a couple of times. She had guests at her house, and she still took the time to talk to me, which is, it really means a lot. And let's get right back into the conversation. I didn't hit record right away. She's talking about when she was auditioning, and she was on a Brady Bunch movie.
No, that's okay. It's okay. No, that was really phenomenal. I mean, I don't know. Brady Bunch. We all grew up on Brady Bunch. I mean, I grew up on the reruns, and I mean, and her. I mean, the whole. I mean, internationally known, and it was. And what's great is I got to play both. I got to play Florence, and I also got to play Carol, and that was an interesting thing because boy, oh boy, I had an audition, and they sent me to Santa Monica to audition, and then it was the wrong place. So they had to reschedule the audition. It was actually in Burbank. And I don't know if you know the geography of Los Angeles, but it's a completely, color opposite area.
Oh, yeah.
And then I was literally the last audition on a Friday at 5:00 and auditioned for Carol, Florence Henderson, behind the scenes of the Brady Bunch. And I'm driving home, and I get a call from my manager. And this is back when cell phones were the size of a brick or a cinder block. And he's like, I don't really sure what you did in there, but you got the role. I'm like, really? Oh my gosh. So all I can say is fun cast, and just to be part of that history of TV, and to play that, it was just great. And to be on those sets, oh my gosh, it was just amazing. It was amazing.
Was it the original set, or did they just remake it? Oh, that's awesome.
And stuff. Oh, yeah. I mean, oh, no joke. Yeah. No, it was like, it was fantastic.
That's so cool. I would totally geek out. Like if you're able to like walk into like one of these famous living rooms you see growing up. Like,
yeah. Oh, yeah. I geek out all the time. I mean, I geeked out. I worked with Mark Hamill in a movie called Watchers 4, which is based on Dean Koontz's book.
Oh, cool.
And I mean, I was geeking out. That first day of filming, I was a nervous wreck. I'm like, oh my God, it's Luke Skywalker. Oh my God. So yeah, I've geeked out many times.
So how do you calm down? Do you like get it all out like that first day, or how does
I just completely act like everything's completely normal. And then little Lisa inside jumping up and down, going, oh my God. You know what I mean? So yeah, I put on my mature demeanor.
Good. No, that'd be so, honestly, if you think about it, it's like that's one of the biggest movies of all time. Everybody knows who he is. It's like Shatner or Picard. I can't think of his name right now, but it's like those guys are just so huge.
Yeah. I mean, Picard, I worked on Nightmares. I worked on Next Generation. I mean, seriously, it's like, oh my God, but then no, I'm on set. I'm just a professional actress, but look, I got to meet childhood, like Mark Hamill, for instance, and others, George Clooney, like, guys that, I totally had a crush on or totally was infatuated with or whatever, So there's still that little Missouri girl in there.
Oh, no, that's good. No, that's good that you have that, because then you're not too big for the moment. You're still the girl that tripped on stage with your high heel, and you like remember that, and you're like still enjoying it, because I bet you there's a lot of people that go on set and they go through the motions. So no, that's really cool that you can admit that.
Oh, well, thank you. Got to stay down to earth. Got to keep your feet on the ground, you know?
Yes. You know, it was a really cool show, like Fear Clinic. I thought that was really cool because it was like all these horror icons like working together.
It was, well, Kane Hodder. He was actually in Watchers 4 with Mark Hamill too.
Oh, cool.
I know. And anyway, and then of course Daniel Harris and Robert and whatever. And yeah, we are still completely baffled why it did not take off. And what we assume is that at the time, I think Chiller produced Fear Clinic, and then Chiller was bought by somebody else, and we were just kind of lost in the floorboards, you know, because it was such a great concept, and the effects were great, and anyone who's seen it is like, what the hell happened? It was so good. And Robert Englund's attached to it, and nothing happened with it. We're still completely confused. They did a feature film, which I wasn't in, but Robert was in it, and I still don't get it. You know, and these shorts too, each episode was 6-7 minutes long, and those are very popular right now, these webisodes. So, you know, I'm seeing Robert soon in Calgary, so I'm going to pick his brain about that.
Oh, definitely. Especially that now it's Shudder. Shudder's taken off pretty well, so I can see them do a kind of series, especially with all these, you know, Kane, Robert, Daniel Harris, and I'm sure there's that was really cool. Yeah, I heard some good stories about Kane, because that guy R.A., him and Kane became friends because Kane was actually his like stunt double and stunt coordinator on Leatherface 3, Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh, really?
So they became really good friends.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great to hear. Yeah, Kane is great. I just talked to him recently, and I see him at shows too. That, you know, he's a great guy. You know, all I can say is with acting and all that is great, but I just made the most amazing lifelong friends in this world of, you know, Hollywood. You know, but there's actually genuine friendships that do happen in Hollywood. So
that's pretty awesome. So you have a lot going on right now. I know you were filming something like a few weeks ago. I don't know. You might still be filming right now?
I just finished, and just back from Hempstead, Texas, about an hour outside of Houston, and we filmed in Galveston as well. And yeah, it was a wonderful experience, great role. It was the most challenging role I've ever done in my lifetime, not just because of the subject matter, but also out of a 110-page script, I have 70 pages of dialogue and monologue. 70 pages.
That's a lot.
So, yeah, and I had not had that much dialogue and whatnot since I did my very first play. Well, no, my second play, The Hot L Baltimore, at Buddy Epson's Theater, which, by the way, was directed by Kelly McGillis.
No
Her mom
way.
directed me in that play. Yeah.
Oh,
wild.
wow.
But anyway, it was a great experience in Texas. I love filming there, even if it is September and it's 100 degrees with 98% humidity.
Which movie is that, the name of it? Because there's some on your IMDb.
Yeah, Mystery Spot. And I haven't even checked my IMDb.
Oh, it's not even on there yet, so that's cool.
Okay, it's not on there yet. It's called Mystery Spot, and it's a full-length feature, and we filmed in a beautiful part of Texas out on a ranch, 11-acre ranch, and we lived and slept and worked in the same 11 acres, and it was great.
Oh, that must have been pretty cool. Like a summer camp, sort of, while you're working.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
That's awesome.
Not cheerleader camp, but
not cheerleader camp. Yeah.
Which was actually filmed at a lake in a camp area.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So thanks so much for taking the time. Just really, I had two questions, but I think I know the answer to the one, because I always ask people, hey, if you weren't acting, if that moment didn't happen, like obviously you started acting a little bit, the play you did in Missouri, and then your dad got the job offer. So that changed like where your path might have been. You might be that heart doctor. So I think that's probably what you might be doing today if you were an actor.
I might be the cardiologist.
Yes. Yes.
Well, actually, since acting, if I weren't acting, I would be so into being a prop master or in production design, because I love decorating. So to create a set, a time period or anything, oh my gosh, I'd be so all over and do the shopping and the antique shopping and recreating things. And oh my God, that's what I would do. I would be behind the scenes doing that.
Oh, that's cool. So here's a question. I know we talked about a lot of things you were on and like roles you had, so it might be kind of hard to answer this, but was there like a role that you had over the years or a show you were on that you really like loved the role, but maybe it just didn't get to enough of an audience for people to see it? So I think so many movies come out, and especially nowadays, not everything can obviously go to a theater.
Yes. Well, I loved the role on Watchers with Mark because I loved the actual book called Watchers. They did 4 of them. Mark and I did the 4th one, but it was the closest related to the book by Dean Koontz. And I was a huge fan of Dean Koontz. And in fact, when I was filming Nightmare on Elm Street 4, in 88, Howard Berger, who is, one of the famous makeup artists now and special effects, he's the one who suggested, hey, read, Watchers, Dean Koontz. Oh, great. Because I already had read a few of the Koontz books, and he's the one who suggested it. And then years later, I'm doing the movie, which is pretty awesome. But I love that role where I actually do play a doctor.
Oh, there you go.
So that was really cool. But on another hand, like we said, playing Carol Brady, Florence Henderson, how awesome. But a role that I just love is the one I played in Walker, Texas Ranger.
Oh,
it was
awesome.
a Christmas episode, and I play a nun. And there's this beautifully written monologue when I'm talking to my brother, who is an escaped from prison, and he's taken over the church. And we were separated. I think we're stepkids, but whatever. I'm trying to convince him to make better choices. Ultimately, he dies, but it's really sad. But I loved playing the nun. I loved playing it. And then now that I'm thinking about it, that recurring theme, the nun, where I kind of play the nun in Nightmare 5. I kind of play Freddy's mom, but not you know what I mean, or what? But that's a very treasured role that I got to play. And Star Trek Next Generation, Utah, is amazing.
That's awesome.
Only because they had to kill me. Captain Riker had to kill me, and they don't kill often, So as a result, I'm on the Monopoly board. This Next Generation Monopoly board is a property. I'm known as the assassin.
Oh my God, really? That's awesome.
Yeah. So anyway, it was a very long-winded answer to your question.
Oh no, that's great. No, I love when people, trust me, I like when people talk more than they don't. So no, that's awesome. How was working with Chuck Norris? I've talked to a few people, one guy that's like really good friends with him, and then a couple people that were on it.
I never had any scenes with him.
Oh, okay. I
worked with the head nun, the main nun, and her. Oh, what's her name? This is so embarrassing. Bane. What's your last name? Oh, beautiful blonde woman. Anyway, I got to work with, but I never actually got any scenes with Chuck.
But that was a cool show. That show was on for a long time too.
Yes. Yes, it was. It was. Now you can't broadcast this because I can't. Barbara Bain. Barbara Bain. Look her up. She did a whole bunch of stuff. She's married to some famous actor. Anyway.
I'll edit that so it sounds like you said it right away.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, I think, let's see, Barbara. I'm trying to look up that episode, but I'll make sure this sounds great. Well, this is awesome.
All right, good. It was called, I think the episode was called Saving Grace.
Yeah, I have it. Yeah, Barbara Bain. She was Mother Superior.
There we go, Mother Superior.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Fun times.
Well, that's so cool. Thanks so much for taking the time. It was really cool. I love hearing how people got to where they were. Obviously, it's so cool to hear about Nightmare on Elm Street and all the other things you worked on. But I always love to hear like the story and how it happened. So there's always something like that. I've never talked to anybody yet that they were like, so I grew up, I was always acting from the tender age of 2 and everything worked out. So it's like, it's cool to hear like, hey, maybe if your dad ever got that job offer, things would be different. But I'm happy that everything went the way it was and you were able to do what you did and continue doing what you love.
Yep. Well, I wouldn't change a thing.
Well, that's good. Well, awesome. Well, enjoy your guests. Thank you so much for stepping away for a few minutes and taking the time to chat with me.
Thank you.
So that was Lisa. Just the stories that she like auditioned for the first Nightmare and just everything that went into that movie, like her memories of it and like Rennie Harlan and just how great that character was. It's very rare in a horror movie for somebody to, last a few movies and like really never die. Obviously, we're going to see that with what Scream ends up doing with not having Sydney back, and she's essentially still alive in the franchise, but it's kind of weird to have that happen. Even like with Halloween, they like killed off Laurie Strode in Halloween 4, just saying she died in a car accident. So, Alice is still alive, and I hope they do one more. Bring back Robert to don the finger knives one more time and bring back Lisa, because I think it'd be really great to have the people that survived the franchise. There's not many left if you really think about it. So Alice, that'd be pretty special. So like I said, next week, last re-release, our review of A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4, The Dream Master. I remember recording this mid-pandemic. It was hot. My hair looked horrible. And I remember doing minutes before it because it's a video review you can watch as well. I just remember doing the knives on a shirt within like seconds and fake blood. I remember pouring it on for the effect to surprise Jamie and our guest Amy. And I remember when I was done, the blood just was stuck to me. It took forever to wash off, but it was the middle of the pandemic. I wasn't going anywhere, so I could have not showered for weeks and nobody would have said anything. Well, maybe my wife would have, and my daughter. But yeah, so don't forget to review, rate, share our podcast. Follow us on all social media at Sequels Only, and don't forget to check out our website, sequelsonly.com. Good night.
Good night, guys.